Looks like actually it was FPX taken away. They didn't want Kanavi taking advantage of that potentially, as relatively standard bans all throughout. When that was B1'd in the last game, it's taken away on red side. It's going to be a very, very fast Jace lock-in here for FPX to start things off.
Okay, for me, a lot of eyes are actually on Nidalee. It's been a really big pick for Kanavi and Top Esports, so with the Yone lock-in here, wouldn't be surprised if we get a Kanavi Nidalee coming in as... Oh, okay, never mind. Maybe Sejuani. So melee on melee synergy. Likely saving a top pick for last. Maybe we get Ambessa being played into the Jace, and I feel like the only way FPX could even think about denying it here is going for like a Zyra or a Maokai, and then if they really want to slam the Ambessa here, they could flex the Jace around.
Maokai here, probably towards Shadow. Kara's going to lock in that Corki. A little bit flexible here, but we've seen it more towards the mid lane as of late. We'll see what Top Esports have to say about it on the other side. Maybe the Varus locked in. Another, as you said, very powerful champion, this time going into the hands of JackeyLove.
Yeah, so the Jace and the Corki, they can technically double flex this around if they do want to go for Corki bot, Jace mid. But at the moment, I do like the idea to take the Varus. I expect to see maybe a ban that protected the Jace on the top side. And if they really want to get rid of Ambessa, they can. I think that might be worth the idea, especially with the Sejuani can really help attack the Jace. But there are so many options up there that you could just have FPX go, hey, you know what? We just want to take away things that we're scared of. Nico being taken away at support. That's a big one. A nice wombo there for Crisp to help line up a Yone combo. No option anymore. But yeah, and maybe Renata being taken away, or Nautilus. Okay. So not ban. Maybe looking to protect a potential Rel coming out from Jwei, or a Leona, been very popular. Of course, a lot of things on the table, but a double support ban towards Crisp. That's solid. Oh boy, we have a Scion. So it looks like Top Esports learned something at first stand. They're going to be playing Driver Scion up in the top lane here for 369.
That's true. It ended up working well for their opposition at that international competition. I will say, this would be an opportunity to maybe send that Jace to the mid lane. Scion does very well into the Jace. Pretty good neutralizer there. And there's a lot of good top laners that Sheer could play into the Scion, but it looks like right now they're hovering any carry. They're going to lock the Ezreal in and just play this long extended poke comp instead.
I was a bit surprised, now that we see Scion locked into the Jhin ban. I feel like Ezreal, not that he's going to do a ton of damage to a Scion either, but Ezreal's for sure slippier, much more slippery when it comes to this front line. So, whereas Jhin, doesn't really damage the Sejuani Scion. Leona is going to be locked in to round things out. So Crisp, likely just going to go for the Braum and play catch. So I will say that Engage for Top Esports, they have Sejuani, they have Scion, they have Yone, but kind of an interesting comp here for top. It really feels like they're going to be a little bit more on the back foot, potentially against a Maokai. And if Maokai gets any control over this map, again, the scaling between him, the Corki, the Ezreal, there's a lot of scaling on FPX, so I think the onus is really on Top Esports to make plays and play this game quickly.
There's a good amount of poke here from FPX as well. You have the Ezreal, the Corki, even the Jace throwing out those accelerated shock blasts. And Leona and Maokai can both engage from very far range with their ultimates, right? And so if you are FPX, if you can get to a stage where you can start sieging these turrets without that big primary engage on Top Esports, that could be a decent opportunity for you to take advantage of the compositions that have been sorted out here in this draft for the second game of our first round robin here in Group C. Our first look at the defending champions, Top Esports, since their appearance at First Stand. We're on the other side. FunPlus Phoenix, they need to get something working before their season goes fully on the back foot.
I just love seeing the Scion here for 369 slamming that. He definitely going to be his job to eat a lot of that poke that you were highlighting coming into these objectives. So we'll see if Top Esports learned anything from First Stand outside of just the Scion pick itself. It was a common matchup that we saw into the Jace that the Flying Oyster used great success themselves throughout the tournament. So definitely a matchup where you get pushed around a little bit as Scion, but you each scale, and of course, if you get Scion to have good setups for those mid-game fights, I mean, those ults can be game-changing if they're able to connect. So see if 369 is able to really lean on his tank specialty that we've seen throughout his career, and maybe lean on some of the learnings he took from Driver at first stand himself.
As we load onto the Rift, we'll see if they learn from their oysters here in this first game of Split 2 for them. A little aggressive opening here right now. As that's a Braum already having that concussive blows onto Jwei. Still has his flash, really uses the aftershock finally. Not going to do too much to defend him. No summoner spells blown there for FPX instead, so they will head back to base just fine, but it got a little scary there for a second.
Yeah, it's going to be the poke setup for JackeyLove. Did start with the Q in this matchup, so Braum and poke Varus, you know, it's not the same abuse that you can have with the on-hit Varus, where you get a ton of attack speed to make sure those Winter's Bites proc quickly, but should at least very much dissuade Jwei from hopping in. As Braum versus Leona, it can be really dangerous as Leona. You go in, you wait out the aftershock to proc everything as the Braum, and we've seen this matchup be really tough for Leona if it's played correctly on the Braum side. So we'll see if JackeyLove and Chris can start their bounce back now.
I know you have a lot of experience with that Braum matchup. I mean,
dude, there was a post on Reddit that was talking about Braum.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was first page today. It was like, you know, Braum is actually a lot better or cooler than you think when it's played competitively at this level because XYZ, and I'm watching this like, yeah, they aren't even talking about the good tech, man. Where's approach velocity and all this?
I mean, they certainly weren't listening to UCAS.
Yeah.
They were just coming up with that information. I feel like one of the biggest Braum preachers in our space. So
I mean, it's one of the very few feathers in my cap that I can put as a player that was perma-stuck D2+. That was rank 1 Braum in A.
Hey, we'll take it.
Got baptized by Core JJ a few times, you know. We'll take those.
It's a learning experience, and now you've used that expertise to help you here in terms of bot lane matchups in the LPL. As so far the Braum not doing too much, as actually was assuming Jwei hitting level 2 first, but JackeyLove and Chris will match that. I will say overall, looking at the compositions, it seems like top esports, you know, we mentioned how maybe last game, like, you know, lacking damage and lacking the magic damage for OMG. It seems like with the poke Varus instead of the on-hit Varus, I might be seeing a little bit more of that this game.
I'm really concerned about top esports if this game goes late. But I will say Yone does bring a decent amount of magic damage to the table, and the focus is on the Corki earlier, but Creme, that Q was not exactly fired in the right direction where the Valkyrie came out. Good dodge from Care. Kanavi's going to return to his camp. I do like at least the unique timing there from Kanavi to try and 4-camp and go mid. Corki was kind of pushed up, didn't get as much as they wanted, but it was an idea. I didn't hate that one.
Yeah, and actually an early reset forced out of Assume, and that forced him to miss a cannon minion. Valk forward from Care, forcing Creme out just a little bit. As early game actually going okay for FPX, right? But I mean, maybe we're counting our chickens too soon because we saw what happened after OMG got a couple of farm advantages in the first 5 minutes, then NIP happened for the next 25.
I mean, at the moment, though, Shadow talked about him throwing some curveballs. A dive on the Creme, maybe.
Yeah, but Kanavi's here as well, ready to try and make this a 2-for-2. Flash away from Care to get away from the Arctic Assault. And Shadow will use that phase rush to run away as well. Nice protection there from Kanavi.
I didn't like that look from Shadow. You saw Sejuani with a red buff. You know that she's going to be on the bot side. And just with the approach, a little bit too much time for Kanavi to try and respond. Did burn the flash, so they do get Kanavi's flash out of that, but feels like a little bit there was sacked by Shadow. He's going to get the super clear off, so it's not all bad, but didn't really get the time out of Kanavi that he wanted. I don't know. That was a risky dive. So that one doesn't connect, and now all eyes going to be on these the first Drake, first Grubs here, Grapes, as we'll see really what the choice is here. By Kanavi. I feel like a grub fight could be really good for top esports. They have 6 on their solo laners, so I think that's the goal.
I mean, right now, it's the bot lane for top esports doing really, really well for themselves. They are not too far ahead or in CS or anything like that, but they've already forced the reset out of Assume. They've already chunked it down to half HP again. So they are getting their licks in with this poke Varus right now as Care actually knocks forward in onto Creme, try to get this wave fully crashed in. Looks like that will be a goal that is accomplished, as again, Assume and Jwei forced away with their wave not in the best spot.
Yeah, JackeyLove doing good work on the Varus, as always, pretty much. So, really tough for Assume to fight this early on. We've seen a lot of Varus versus Ezreal. Ezreal is a champ that can outscale the poke Varus, but you really need that, Miramana spike, and then the Shojin's where you really hit your stride. If you want to talk about actually outscaling that pick. And poke Varus really scales about like how many good targets he has, which I'll say the targets for a poke Varus in this game is not fantastic. The Chase, we've seen this build, you get quite a bit tankier, but to see Shadow go for the Andres build, there will be a point in the mid game where JackeyLove's going to have pretty much 5 good targets to hit before some of the tankier items come in for FPX. So top esports at least going to use this to continue to throw their weight around early. Maybe looking at the Krubs, but I got to say, FPX got 2. That's pretty big.
Yeah, because Kanavi tried to go for that play on Sheer and didn't end up having that work out for them. So even though top esports were first to top lane play, and with the bot lane that has been continuously taking advantage of Assume's way, it's actually FPX who get that little advantage down there in the grub department. They go up 2-1 in a matchup into play that probably should have gone top esports as well.
Like this though, Chris trying to cut off FPX. They find Shadow. Maybe we'll toss around a little bit. Kanavi does have Smite if he wants to contest this, but the Q Smite does win for Maokai.
Oh, Kanavi ends up stealing that one away. So, a little outplay there from the top esports jungler. He still got those hands, of course. Looks like they're actually still continuing the pressure here on to Shadow and Jwei. There's no red buff to fight for right now, but they're still in that pit.
Yeah, a little bit of wasted time there from top esports, but at least they get a Smite out of Shadow. They could go hit this dragon now. Pretty safe. Okay. Creme can't fully commit. Of course, Jwei has sums. Would be able to potentially lock Yone up under the turret. Would be big trouble for Creme. That said, Creme getting Care to base now. Hero Mage Minion. Well,
that's the real MVP right there.
Yeah. First dragon does go over to top esports, though, all that's going on. So, not all bad here for top.
And they find themselves up at 200 gold just through lanes, and right now that is opened up towards the bottom lane. JackeyLove and Chris really taking advantage of the 2v2 so far. They find themselves up 400 gold. Everywhere else, though, FPX are kind of in control. You see Care opening up a 10 to 12 CS lead over Creme. Sheer doing okay in this Sion matchup so far, although the more armor that Sion's able to pick up, the harder and harder this matchup does get, especially if you aren't able to snowball with an early game kill. So Sheer's gonna be in trouble maybe in a little bit, but right now he's doing okay.
For me, Sheer is actually, really felt like we've kind of set this up as be grim for FPX and their hopes, but Sheer has been the bright point for me on this roster, if there really has been any. So good to see, of course, Sheer, the Jace, very powerful pick. And this matchup, we do expect to see the Sion go down a little bit in terms of CS, but of course that tank Sion can be really useful in terms of throwing around your weight in the mid game. And that's where I want to see top esports again, just try and speed this game up. As this game goes on, we see the Corki, see the Ezreal, see the Maokai, the Chase. There is a lot of scaling on FPX's team, so I don't think that this game is a free win later on for top esports by any means. It's really on them to push the pace of this game forward, and at the moment, Crisp and Kanavi wasting some time, seeing some empty camps. The Shadow's done a nice job of getting at it, staying ahead.
And it's the same thing that we saw last game, right? Where NIP against OMG were the team that had to push the initiative, and it was around this point where they really started to go for those plays, right? With the Vi ultimates, Galio ultimates. The tools are available now for top esports to do the same. You have Kanavi, level 7, has had that Glacial Prison available for quite some time. 369 can follow up with Engage. There's heavy crowd control in all 5 of their champions' ultimates that they could use in succession of each other if they want to, but they haven't been able to find anything just yet, and they're continuing to allow FPX to scale. Of course, that could all change as soon as one play goes awry for FPX, and top esports can maybe start to take control there, but right now you have to give credit to a team like FPX who absolutely did not have the first split that they wanted to. Going up against the LPL champions right now, and so far not really making any crucial mistakes.
No, so far doing all right. really tough thing, though, for FPX at this point of the game. When you go up against Poke Varus, you just do not get mid priority at this point. This champ and this build, you just absolutely delete every wave that comes your way. It's really hard to contest, so that's really the fact that they're just throwing Varus mid and kind of insta-winning that lane gives you the opportunity to move first to a lot of plays, including potential grubs, as JackeyLove making his way back in here.
Yeah, Shadow can pick up 1. That would be really big. Try to even up that count at 3, but instead it's going to be a full engage, actually, with that ultimate from Shadow. Jwei already forced to flash away. There's a 3-man Fate Seal from Creme, but he gets knocked back, not able to finish off anybody on FPX, and Top Esports are forced to run for the hills. 369's at only 300 HP. Care valks forward, forcing Kanavi to flash away, use the blast cone defensively. That'll absolutely lock up that grub for FPX. They prevent any of those feats of strength from going over, and they keep themselves alive in this game, Cubby.
A 3-3 split is not bad at all. Jace able to TP bot to pick up the rest of that wave. FPX gonna be sitting kind of pretty with this one.
So all things considered, the gold's starting to slide a little bit more towards Top Esports, but they haven't picked up any kills. They haven't picked up a significant major objective other than that Chemtech Dragon. And now the grubs are even, right? And so this is that early game composition that we were talking about, and this is where Top Esports should have been able to find a win.
Yeah, the big thing for me, JackeyLove's late. He based to get an item, so he's not able to put Poke down before the fight, and they got a lot done against the Scion. Shadow did a really nice job of buying space, buying time. They were able to absorb a really good Yone ult from Creme, who didn't have enough damage to get through any of the members of FPX, so nice job by them to absorb something there. And again, the fact that JackeyLove isn't here early to set up to get the poke off, like how FPX just got the objective. They pressed the Maokai R. They said, hey, if we eat Varus Qs, we're not going to be in good shape. He's not here. Let's fight now. They locked up the Scion. And again, a grub split, I think, is a pretty nice, but like small but nice win for them. So good job, FPX.
You can see, again, like for Top Esports, especially when JackeyLove is not there, damage really lacking, right? I mean, Creme came in with that 3-man ultimate. There was no follow-up. You can credit maybe the fact that they burned 369's ultimate a little bit earlier in the process, but it seems like a lot of things have to go right for Top Esports, or they have to just soak up all of the engaged tools from FPX first before they can follow up with the tools of their own. That's just the way that their composition currently functions. But right now, they're going to be able to at least pick up the second dragon and get some control in that department.
No contest there. Man, you mentioned 369 Sign. He's even stealing some of the tech to build that Driver had. So Top definitely really learned something from the Flying Oysters here. As it's the Frozen Heart, and the Swifties was a big thing that I saw Driver using just to help better position yourself as Scion. It was quite important with getting your Qs off. I mean, of course, you're immobile during that, but sometimes that bonus in-combat move speed can be a difference maker, and just the slow resist, which would be pretty valuable this game, at least against Maokai is a frontliner for Scion, can help you close a little bit extra gap or maybe position yourself a little bit better to get a nice Q off. I like the fact that I know it was a bummer for Top Esports at the International. You don't want to going into the event, if you'd told me that Top would have lost the bracket stage to the Flying Oysters, I probably would have said you're nuts. But hey, at least it's showing they learned something from it, Grapes, improvement.
And let's see, they're going to find something here onto Care, just a little bit too far forward. The flash not successful either. That is first blood picked up for Top Esports as they finally get themselves on the board.
Yeah, flash, but of course that Q3 on Yone is a bit janky. It kind of starts behind him. Still got caught, so the flash and death, that's going to hurt from Care. And giving Creme some free time at the side. Then plates have fallen. Yone is just going to be able to pick this one up, so that should be first brick, and that feat secured from Top Esports, putting them quite close to feats in general.
It's just that one little play that might allow for Top Esports to get back into this game. Let's take another look at this one. It just seems like Care a little bit too aggressive. I mean, there was not really much to go for other than maybe the wave a little bit early.
I mean, he had a control ward in the Tribe Rush, and if you're going to flash, you just flash the Fate Sealed. I think if he flashes that, then he's able to walk on out of there. Or he would have to sidestep a Sejuani ult and just hope that Yone can't DPS him down. But now you have Yone, and this is a very happy spot for Top Esports. Again, the Scion, Yone, like these two lanes, and JackeyLove being mid, this map's pretty easy for top esports to play. It's just, okay, Varus has push. We're going to go help or funnel into the Yone lane and try and get him ahead. Now Creme going to catch a wave, has the Bork, a little bit accelerated in this game thanks to that first blood and the turret. And the game plan pretty easy here for top esports is to continue to clear under the Yone and really pressure this lane that cannot be answered now for FPX, given the fact that Corky's down to flash.
Yeah, now that Creme is a little bit more online, he'll be able to go in kind of on his own, find flanks on his own, and I think that's very crucial for how top esports composition wants to function. And so that opens up a lot of possibilities now for this team. It seemed like when Creme was a little bit further behind, you know, him going in, landing that 3-man ult didn't do too much. I think now it's going to hurt a little bit more as the Rift Herald is going to spawn right now. Actually, looks like FPX is there first, but we'll see if top esports want to try to collapse on this or not. Chris gaining control of that mid lane. Looks like they're actually going to force Shadow and the rest of FPX away.
Yeah, I think FPX just kind of tickling it to make sure that it can't be a free start here from top esports. Going to force that thing to reset. But again, this is where it's really tough to go up against Poke Varus because those waves get deleted. That said, Shadow, of course, going for the Andres Maokai build, being the magic damage on his team. The saplings do hurt. Maokai does a lot of damage with this build. This FPX, see if they look for a fight, but that's a big piercing arrow coming out of JackeyLove. Ult casted.
Nature's Grasp. In comes Shadow. He steals away the Rift Herald. Now what can the fight look like on the other side? Unstoppable Onslaught comes through. 369 will take down Jwei. Creme will go down, though. And here comes Sheer. He flashes to the wall. He picks himself up a double kill, and JackeyLove is potentially caught out. He flashes into the red buff pit, but Shadow is looking to close the distance, and it's a snipe from Assume to claim the Feats of Warfare, the Rift Herald, and the fight win for FPX.
Okay, now things get pretty interesting because that Rift Herald steal, the insta drop, that's going to be the outer that falls. And a gold lead now goes over to FPX at a comp where, again, they heavily outscale top esports in this game. So FPX taking a few steps to really set themselves up for success. And for me, the big difference maker in that one, it was Sheer being able to go over the wall and clean up the low health bars that top esports had. Big difference maker as Sheer is chasing the Sion matchup. You get your farm, but you know, it's kind of a lane for Sion where you're trying to absorb and lose gracefully. Sheer had economy and was able to use it really nicely here. As of course, Shadow, the Q Smite lands true. Creme gets stuck in the back of the pit. He didn't have any impact in this fight, being the fed one. And then a 369 of the Sion just kind of had to walk his way out, leaving the other carries for top esports rather exposed. Kanavi and JackeyLove found, and a lot of gold now onto this Jace.
And shout out to Assume as well, the new addition for FPX. He ate the Sejuani ultimate, cleansed away. He flashed away from 369's ultimate. That's all the main engage tools that top esports had, and he was able to clean up the rest of that fight as well. I know it was a tough early game for him, but able to turn things around and allow for FPX to get back into this game just a little bit. Ends up being a trade of that top lane tower as 369 was able to pick that up, but FPX are able to prevent the whole point from going over, and they're feeling very happy with the way this game is currently situated.
Again, those double Muramanas going to be coming in here pretty soon for FPX. Shadow might have to walk his way out of this one.
There comes the ultimate as well from Chris. Looks like Shadow not going to live through this one as the tank squad comes through for top esports and get themselves right back into an even playing state. Now 3 kills to 3 overall. Right back in the lead in terms of gold, although not by much at this point. So what's to do next? Not much to play around the map for now. We're waiting for those tiers to come through. They're fully stacked for both Care and Assume. This is where the scaling really can start to take control.
I do want to compliment top on that play. 369 got top lane in all the way. So he rotated mid. The rest of top kind of collapsed into Shadow, who probably shouldn't have been on those Krugs and got punished for it. So well played from top esports. But again, as you stated, this 500 gold lead is not what top esports were looking for, given the drafts that we have. And I gotta say that Infernal Dragon 2 being secured by FPX, it denied Soul Point, and it's a lot more abusable for their team than it is for top esports. So, I mean, you have everyone on the team, minus Leona, building damage with Maokai going for the Leandries. It's really going to help against a lower damage team from Top Esports. Again, it's a Scion Sejuani topside. That's why I was a little bit surprised to see the Poke Fair, especially paired up with this Creme. Is Creme going to have to ult out in Jwei?
Solar Flare comes out, Creme to dodge it, and flash away from the True Shot Barrage, but it looks like the FPX want to keep going for this one, and this could be a bit of an overextension as the rest of Top Esports are able to collapse. Creme picks up the kill, Sheer will go down, and it's a 4v5 for the next 40 seconds on the map.
Sheer might have been able to actually threaten Creme there if he hit the Empowered Shock Blast, but I think he left the gate a little bit behind him, and then ended up being a one-way trip in. Mistake there from FPX again. Still the weaker team of this one, but yeah, this Top Esports comp, they do not do a ton of damage. So I am very curious to see if the Ezreal Corki can actually get through this really beefy front line that Top Esports has in the Scion Sejuani. Because that is one thing. Like, you don't want to really build pen on Corki. And the pen you're getting as Ezreal is like, I mean, Sorel does later on. Hell, if he built like LDR or Grievous in this one, I feel like that's completely understandable, frankly, given how big this front line is for Top Esports. So I know Sorel actually went under a bit of a change or perspective change too with the last patch. So kind of curious to see when the pen does come in for Assume, because yeah, of course, top lower damage comp, but a lot of tankiness on their side in exchange.
Yeah, and that's kind of the balancing act, right? Like, how much damage can Creme put out before his front line goes down? JackeyLove also going more of a defensive build. You think workings of a Edge of Night as the second item with the Tunneler picked up for him as well. So that's going to be a little bit less damage from him in addition, on top of what is already a relatively low damage build. But I don't know. We'll see how the rest of this opens up here. FPX, they're gonna almost have 3 of those Muramanas, which do a lot of damage to basically everyone, especially at this stage in the game. Otacon available. Dragon up in about a minute. Going to be another Infernal for these two teams to contest.
Really curious what the setup ends up being here for Top Esports. Of course, JackeyLove going to make his way towards a blue buff. As with bot lane being in all the way, Scion does have the opportunity to walk up and really support a bot river overtake here from Top Esports. And with JackeyLove still being out this Poke Ferris, yeah, these waves get deleted. So he's going to do his best to just get the health bars a little bit lower here for FPX. Should be a lot of control for Top Esports, but curious actually to see Kanavi, who is getting pinged out here by FPX, potentially be found. Shadow should sapling that. Yep. So they're going to sniff out the Sejuani here. That is a nice little win for FPX, and good job by Shadow, of course, on the Maokai. The saplings and vision help you play forward line decently well. He's doing a nice job at least making sure that they know where Top Esports are setting up.
Now the question goes towards this Dragon. Solar Flare comes out. JackeyLove had the spell shield, so will not get locked down by it, and neither will the Nature's Grasp, as Shadow has that ultimate blocked out by Crisp. Now comes the re-engage. Comes 369. He's going to land the ultimate only onto the Maokai, but a two-man decimating smash is all that Top Esports need to get this fight off on the right foot. Care has to Valk over the wall into the Raptor pit, and Top Esports should have control of this Dragon now in a 4v5.
I know we talked about the scaling here for FPX, but that Scion, this fight, the first fight that we saw, top drop, that the Scion, you were able to get through it, actually kill it. Not that time around. That Scion was invincible. That is one thing about this this game. This Scion just went double armor items. Going to be really tough to deal with. Is of course only Maokai's bringing the magic damage. So who knows? Maybe 369 just kind of out tank the Corki Ezreal and these two champs that really don't want to buy pen. Going to be an interesting dichotomy as we go through this game. Just of course top being lower damage, but really tanky, and then FPX being full damage and Care.
No flash. He might be in trouble here. Looks like the Soul Unbound going to go back with a little bit too much help on Care's side.
Yeah, Creme missed a Q. That's all that Care needed to just barely get his way out. As Top Esports is putting themselves on Soul Point like that, and FPX still, I really felt like they weren't able to get in, and that's where Poke Varus is still so strong, with his ability to just delete mid waves, then dip into Vision or Fog, where you are walking through these piercing arrows quite tough.
And then you look at 369. I mean, you're talking about it, Cubby, but I don't think anybody other than maybe Care at this point can do
look at
much
that.
to him. Not even a full accelerated shock blast can take down his shield at this point in the game. 1,000
like to
HP
play.
already unlocked on the Soul Furnace, and now they could potentially look for something here with Crisp and 369. Really good position. Take control of this top side jungle. Try to maybe steal away this blue buff as well. That'd be a big win for top if they're able to control that. Looks like FPX really want it. Oh, it gets barely picked up. I think that was Kanavi to steal it away.
I see Top Esports, they're rocking all the Baron empowered blue buffs, so goes to everyone on the team. And this game has really kind of thrown me for a bit of a loop because I see Maokai double marksman. I'm instantly thinking like, oh boy, scaling, right? FPX is in good shape, but yeah, like that last fight, the last interaction we had, I'm like, do want to give. Like, I just don't want to put this in the champions. We're gonna get a replay.
Oh, we're bored. We're bored.
Oh, it was Crisp.
Whoa. Okay.
That's a powerful Q. Plus 90, baby. I'll take that one. And yeah, you're right. We are bored for showing that. But, like, just the lack of damage that 369 took in the last fight and that ult that he had was so good.
Oh, man. Jwei just gets caught out. Has the Aftershock, which keeps him alive for a long time. But he will finally go down to Kanavi. Now assumed in a bad spot. Has to shift over the wall to prevent from that Decimating Smash from coming through. Meanwhile, on the other side of the map, Creme just 1v1's Care in the side lane.
Okay,
and that means Top Esports can fully go onto this team fight. Shadow will fall. Blast Cone forces Sheer and Assume back. But it is a 3-for-0 across multiple areas of the map for Top Esports, as they now can go towards either of these neutral objectives on the top side.
Yeah, I can only assume the all-in bot. Creme was able to land his Qs this time around against Care, who went down. And again, 369 just gets to walk wherever he pleases. These waves getting deleted by the Scion. He's able to collapse, help the team, and just refuse to get pushed out. As FPX relegated looking for turrets, and Sheer relegated to fighting this 1v2. He's going to have to run for the hills. A little bit tricky here.
Looks like he's probably going to just try to buy as much time as possible, as the Baron has already gone over to Top Esports. Looks like he does a little bit of damage, but Creme will get the help from his support, and the Crispy Creme duo will be able to take Sheer down.
I wasn't expecting the Krispy Kreme duo to come out. As here we're gonna see. Okay, so he just sniped him in the brush. Wow, that's I guess just assumed that he was basing, or I don't see a TP channel coming out. Oh, he dipped into the brush after he killed the wave, so that's how Creme was able to guess. Oh yeah, there was TP coming out, so he was locked up. Wow, that's a really big win. And then again, 369 gonna get a flash out of Sheer. Gonna connect with Shadow. Still finds the 2-man. I know Assume was able to get out of there, but I like the idea of 369 even flashing forward to try and keep on pursuing that. If it's not Infernal Rift and they don't have access to that Blast Cone, I think Chase is for sure on for Top Esports.
That could have been a really bad thing for Assume if he ended up getting caught by that Sejuani ultimate, but it looks like he will be okay. However, the damage has been done through this Baron going down, Cubby. I mean, FPX were in a position where they were up in gold. They were maybe scaling a little bit, but now the gold deficit over 6k after that Baron.
It's Infernal Soul too, and you can see the kind of the head scratch of the FPX in, because Care is working his way towards an LDR. And again, you got to imagine that Ezreal is Shojin at the moment. It has to be. Oh, hold on. Have a fight. 369.
Broke a little bit, but again, 369 just taking up so much damage on this frontline Shadow. Does a nice job with the Bramble Smash, but he's 3 levels down compared to 369, and he will drop very, very easily, and so will Assume. Here comes Creme as well. Fade Seal not going to connect onto Sheer, but the damage might have already been done. Care is level 16, but does not have enough damage to survive this in a 2v4, I would assume. Here comes Jwei to try to buy a little bit of space, but it's a 5v2 opening up on the map. The health bars are low, but low does not mean dead here on the map for Top Esports. Care will barely survive, but he might just have to watch his base crumble in his own sights, underneath his own fountain. The Nexus Towers are under fire. Still 15 seconds on Shadow coming back to life. Care will go down, and Top Esports come back with a vengeance here in the LPL and will win the game over FPX.
Well, if you can't beat him, join him there from 369, piloting that Scion damn well in this win for Top Esports. For me, I know the Creme found some big solo kills later on, but I'm probably going to honor 369 with the player of the game there, as Top Esports took a game that, as you called out, Graves, looking close for a little bit and made that look really one-sided in the end, and see some of the shortcomings of FPX. So with a couple of those For me, the big one was that 4th dragon setup where after they got the Infernal Dragon, felt like they had some control over the game, and just the double ults being thrown out by the Leona, the Maokai, that reach that failed, really put them in a tough spot. And then we just saw Sion. I thought the Ezreal Corki would scale with the Maokai, but that game, it was, I guess, Sion just outscaling all as he could not be dealt with, man. That was a big Sion for 369.
I mean, now we just need to see him do a little dance once he gets up on the stage. It looks like he didn't copy that part of the Oysters after the win on the Sion there. But hey, you know, the pressure was a little bit on them. Obviously, this was supposed to be, you never want to say warm up in a tier 1 league, but for Top Esports,
well,
they got that matchup against NIP.
Don't check NIP's Twitter after game 1 if you don't want to talk about warm-ups then, because may or may not have been their tweet. Nice warm-up game with the scoreboard showing. Yeah.
Hey, it sets up for some pretty interesting matchups over our next 2 games here, though, because we have FPX going up against OMG first, the 2 losers, and then, of course, that big heavyweight bout between Top Esports and NIP, a rematch of a matchup in the lower bracket of the playoffs in split number 1 as well. We're getting closer and closer to that one, so I feel like that first set of games between these 4 teams has kind of confirmed our expectations that this was really cut and dry in terms of a top 2 and a bottom 2. But seeing these, top 2 and bottom 2 teams, duke it out should be pretty interesting at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta say I thought FPX showed some more signs of life than OMG, even though I have OMG over FPX, so maybe that makes for a promising bout later on. And I do want to give some credit to Top Esports. Again, FPX, they're not the strongest team we have in the LPL, but I did feel like after the Rift fight that there was, a real chance we could see Top struggle in that game to not find the right solutions, to fall further behind against FPX. But they played that map out really well. I think the push that JackeyLove had in mid, and then 369 on the Sion again. There's so many moments where we just saw him push his lane in, go join the team, and make something happen for Top Esports. And for me, he was by player of the game in that one. I thought 369 was quite big.
Yeah, I mean, hey, that's kind of the style that he came up with, right? Like being the weak side, soaking up a lot of pressure, and looks like he can still do that pretty well, especially against somebody like Sheer, who's a bit more of a younger gun, who was maybe somebody who could play some of these flashy picks. Didn't end up working too well against Sion.
We missed out there. He was like the driver to deliver the Krispy Kreme donuts, on the Sion.
Yeah. Sends him right in on the ulti.
Yeah, he was making sure that the glaze made it to you back home.
That's true. And we're glazing him pretty hard here in this game, and did pretty well. I think we both have him listed as the player of the game. You do see JackeyLove doing a lot of the damage. However, Poke Ferris, they had a good job in the laning phase. Man. Yeah, you're throwing out Qs every 15 seconds.
Not even. It's a cheat code there for damage stats. But we're gonna look back. I will say I wouldn't be surprised if this player of the game went to Creme, just because he really took over in the side lane. And again, like we see a lot of these Yone Sejuani Rumble, Yone Sejuani Sion for the same purpose, just the fact that the Rumble Sion, they play alone. Focus everything onto the Yone side. We did see Top do that really successfully in the mid game. And then Creme got to a point where no one could deal with him on the side, then was able to find solo wins. Big difference maker later on going up against FPX. This is the one, again, Sheer just didn't find the empowered EQ there. It wouldn't have been enough, but that Q in the Sejuani was a bit bold. And for me, I thought Sheer was like a small bright spot for FPX at points, but definitely did not have a great chase game outside of that Rift Herald fight.
Yeah, this really officially sealed the game right here for Top Esports. The game was still close at this point, and it's actually a very similar situation to what happened in the NIP versus OMG game, where it was close for a little bit. We're like, okay, OMG can scale, and then it's one little mistake that compounds into, again, a Baron, and then an end here for Top Esports, who, again, were the favorites coming into this game.
Yeah, I mean, arguably favorites in the group, given what they did in LPL last split. So, see if they're able to make it happen again this split. I don't know. I just like the fact that Top Esports showed they weren't something right off the bat from first stand, which was that team beat us. We're going to steal their strats and use it pretty well. So, it was a good sign game for 369. He piloted that champion really well this game.
This is the end of the game right here as well. We'll see who they decide to give the player of the game to. I will say last game, I think, even though we were praising the top side for NIP, they gave it over to Leave instead. So maybe they're looking at that high damage number for JackeyLove. I don't know. But
please no, it's Poke Ferris. 40% damage percentage is not nearly as impressive on Poke Ferris as it is on many other champions. You know, it's fine.
That's true. I'm just preparing us for a situation that we might have been expecting. I don't want to say the worst. You know, JackeyLove, he did all right. Threw some ultimates out there.
Look, all I'll say is that Media Keck W is a thing in the LCK stream, not the LPL stream. As of course, the media votes and the Media Keck W, the classic for one. You get the surprise media votes, whether it's the non-simultaneous victor or the media vote actually makes it go to a player of the game that the English desk thought was not player of the game, which happens quite often over in the LCK. I will say that in LPL, they've been a lot more aligned with what they think or who they think the player of the game is.
Okay, they went with your second option. They went with Creme.
I'm 0 for 2 so far saying that, but I can see why I went for Creme.
Like a half.
Yeah, he made some nice solo plays. Again, I think that this draft, you're playing the Sion Sejuani topside. You're playing that to play into the Yone. And I felt like Creme did a decent job of this. He found some nice plays. The Sejuani helped get him started, but at times, you know, might have been able to snowball a little bit quicker. There was one kill he missed out on. He missed a couple Qs against Kerr. I like the Sion joining the team, making things happen. 369. That was kind of nice, but good game from Creme there.
Yeah, good for Creme. One of the newer players, you know, on this top esports roster by comparison. You know, you look at the rest of the roster, and somebody who maybe had a little bit more inconsistencies in their play throughout split number 1 or just throughout his time on this organization. So seeing him get that win, definitely very good. Able to take advantage of the Yone pickup that he's, of course, very comfortable on. But that's going to do it for our coverage of this game, specifically with top esports going up to 1-0 in Group C. We've got the matchup between the two losers from our last games up next. FunPlus Phoenix against OMG.